Hello, everyone. Welcome to this LinkedIn live stream event. Really glad that you can make it. Now, are you a founder that struggles with sleep? Or are you a founder that doesn't prioritize sleep enough? And do you want to do something about it? Well, today we brought along global sleep experts from the Sleep School, Dr. Guy Meadows and his co-founder, Adrian Baxter. And today they're going to talk about the science of sleep for founders. I'm Wes Rashid, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Accountancy Cloud. You might be wondering why we're putting on this event. Well, it's for two reasons. One, we love putting out value-added content for you, the startup founder. That's who we're passionate about helping. And the second reason is I have a personal connection to this. So I can probably relate to some of you in this audience. Been running the business now for just over 7 years. And typically, like in the early years, things like sleep and concepts like burnout really didn't register with me. It was all about working hard, trying to execute my vision. That was up until probably about 6 or 7 months ago, where I kind of researched into this topic, started to carve out some of the tips and guidelines and introduce them into my own personal and professional life. And quite honestly, it transformed both. So I hope this event will do that for you today. We have two fantastic guests, and this event is one that I've been looking forward to for a long, long time. So let's introduce them now. We have the co-founders of the Sleep School. We have Dr. Guy Meadows and Adrian Baxter. Welcome, guys, and thanks a lot for coming along.
Hi there, Wes. I'm so sorry. I think we had a little bit of a technical issue there where the broadband seemed to drop out.
Yeah. So guys, we were discussing before, the guys are having some technical issues, but we'll endeavor to crack on because we've got some really, really interesting content to come. Look, guys, what we'll do is start off with some introductions because you two play some distinct roles within the Sleep School. So let's start off with that. Following that, we'll have about 30 minutes of questions, and anyone that's participating here on the audience and you're watching right now, feel free to chuck us an emoji, hit us up with a comment or any question, and we'll be sure to present those to our fantastic speakers today. Okay, let's start off with introductions then. Adrian, let's start with you. Can you just describe what the Sleep School does and also your role within the company?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Sleep School was founded around about 10 years ago now by Guy and myself. Our main aim is to help people sleep so they can perform at their very best during the day. And one thing that's really important for us is that everything that we do is evidence-based. So we're not going to be any myths of how to sleep better, giving you stuff which has actually been researched and proven to help. In terms of roles, I'm the business director, so responsible for driving the business forward and bringing in new kind of corporate clients. And Guy?
And I'm the clinical director, responsible for a lot of the sort of client-facing side, whether that be in the clinic or in sort of delivery to corporates, but also on the content creation as well.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. And can you remind us, or just to introduce a little bit further detail into the types of customers you work with?
Yeah, sure. So there's two parts to our business. We've got a direct-to-consumer element. So we help people, including chronic insomniacs, so people who are really suffering with sleep. But also via our app, we help, and we do that through private video clinics. But also through our app, we offer sleep help for very different, wide-ranging groups of people, from people who just want to get an extra hour or two sleep, to chronic insomniacs, to people suffering with anxiety, depression, etc. On the other side of our business, we've got a business-to-business element. So we work with large global organizations, law firms, banks, consultancies, and basically what we're trying to do with those guys is to improve their employee sleep so that they can perform better during the day, but also just live better lives generally. Because we all know what it's like being stressed at work, and it can really impact on our sleep.
Yeah, fantastic. So this session is for founders, and quite honestly, this is a session that I'm just going to learn a lot from. So let's just start off with the basics. What would you, how would you describe the phrase gaining quality sleep? Like, what does it mean?
Sure. So I think that's a good place to start. So when we're talking about good quality sleep, the result of that, most of us is something that we want, and that's to wake up feeling refreshed. So if you get good quality sleep and you get the right amount of sleep for your biological sleep need, then hopefully you'll wake up refreshed. But sort of scientifically, when we talk about good quality sleep, we're talking about getting complete cycles of the different sleep stages. So light, deep, and rapid eye movement sleep. And the crucial thing is the average 8-hour sleeper will need 4 to 5 cycles per night. So it's getting complete cycles, 4 to 5 cycles per night, hopefully will enable you to wake up feeling refreshed.
Brilliant. That actually opens up another question then. So what are the main risks of, not having enough quality sleep, and what impact does that have in result of sort of not sleeping properly as well?
Yeah, so I suppose you can break it down into kind of short-term and long-term aspects. Short-term being that your mental performance will slow down if you're not getting good enough sleep. Your focus and concentration will also drop down, and this is all clinically proven in a lab and then also done in work settings too. And also your productivity reduces. When it comes to the kind of the long-term issues, it can get quite depressing, I must say. You're looking at it negatively impacting both your mental and physical health. So the incidence of obesity increases, instance of predisposition for anxiety and depression and dementia also increases significantly too. And in fact, a Harvard University study looked at people that don't achieve their biological sleep need, which for most of us is about 7 to 8 hours sleep per night. And it found that those that don't achieve it, even by missing out on 1 to 2 hours, we're not talking about completely missing all your sleep out, were 10 times more likely to suffer from depression and 17 times more likely to suffer from anxiety. So in summary, sleep is absolutely essential both for our short-term and long-term mental and physical health.
So, I'm just in the context of founders, I guess that presents quite a stark kind of picture really, because, founders, you probably consider them kind of high risk at not getting that quality sleep necessary. Would you agree with that?
I mean, absolutely. We've both been there. You've been there. Anyone listening to this will understand that. You're working in a highly stressful environment. You've got way too much to do in too little time, and your sleep suffers because you're basically not getting enough of it or not good quality of it. The other impact is you're kind of, as a founder, what we found is you're always mentally switched on, having to think about multiple things at a time, which means that it's really difficult to switch off at night. And then sometimes you'll be waking up much earlier than you should do as well, thinking about what have I got to do. And I think one of the main things as well as a founder is you're always this kind of central point of contact where lots of people are relying on you, and having, not just one role to do, which you can start, finish and complete, but actually having multiple roles in this kind of ever ongoing sense of responsibility really plays on founders' minds, which again can keep us up at night and keep us kind of anxious about what we need to do and what we need to achieve.
Yeah, really interesting. But there's also like this, I wouldn't say like it's a counter argument, but almost like a counter perspective, isn't there? Of, particularly startups that have this big vision that they want to execute, trying to like sort of glamorize this sort of, rags to riches story and just trying to meet their demanding workload schedule and almost glamorizing things like burnout. I certainly thought that I was able to just get through work. Like sleep was a lack of priority, was down in my priority list than other things, right? Do you think that that's part of the problem then when it comes to founders and them getting stressed out and then ultimately burning out?
Yeah, I absolutely think so. I think what we are seeing change right now is that people are becoming much more aware of the importance of their sleep and actually understanding what it is. And so we're starting to see that change where people are putting their well-being and their health first, and then their work second, or at least giving them equal weighting. But yeah, absolutely, there still are founders out there, and there's still, especially in the past, even a few years back, it was all about, hitting your objectives and your goals. And that was the most important thing, even if you were doing all-nighters, and then you could deal with the sleep and your mental health later, which obviously is probably not the long-term solution that everybody needs.
So Guy, let's just role play for a little bit, and I am that guy. Yeah, I'm starting my company, and I'm super excited about it, and that's all I want to work on. Because, you know, what are you going to say? What's kind of your initial? You know, is it something that you have to work through, or is there some sort of quick win that you can, or quick wins that you can instill in that founder to prioritize sleep just that little bit more?
Absolutely. I think once you've sort of educated people around the importance of sleep, and you've almost done the sales pitch for them, so they realize, oh, actually, I really do need to prioritize this because it's going to help every aspect of, you know, sort of my performance as a leader. I think there are lots of, you know, the real basics, but they're so powerful. So the first one is just actually prioritizing sleep in your life. You know, so which just that realization that actually, you know, I need to sort of get off my laptop and I need to get to the bedroom and just get some sleep is really important. But then another sort of other myth that we often hear is that, if you do have a sleep debt, you can't repay it. But actually, you can replay it, and just having these sort of, you know, very really simple coping strategies which you've got in your back pocket. So if you know that you're going to be working late, you know, sort of which there inevitably will always be periods where, you know, sort of in a founder's life where you're having to cut your sleep short. But the great thing is you should be able to schedule sort of catch up nights where you're going to get a little bit extra sleep, or, you know, sort of maybe you have a little bit of a lie-in, but not a long one, because those don't work. So basically 30 or 60 minutes extra sleep on the weekend, or perhaps a power nap. You know, that's a sort of a big, you know, we've seen a lot of certainly, you know, corporations taking on power naps for their employees because of the mental, emotional and physical benefits that they can bring. So kind of having those in your back pocket. And then one of the simplest but often most overlooked is regularity, and it's absolutely fundamental, because going to bed and getting up at roughly the same time helps to keep your internal body clock on time. And the beautiful thing about that is your body clock is keeping every other biological process on time. So your nutrition, everything that's going to give you that sort of that mental focus, that energy that you need to be a great leader, is regulated by the timing of your body clock. So going to bed and getting up not only at the same time not only helps your sleep, but also will help to improve, you know, the energy that you need to be a founder as well.
Yeah, I really like that. It's like making sleep really central, because ultimately that's going to help you improve your productivity, which is going to have a knock-on effect and other aspects in your life. But, you know, if you're serious about trying to execute your big vision, then you have to obviously take sleep more seriously. So guys, do you take your own advice?
Oh my God, absolutely. I firstly love sleep. Secondly, I'm very good at it. I fall asleep very quickly, and I absolutely 100% prioritize my sleep above pretty much everything else. I know that if I get the sleep that I need, then the energy that I have for the next day is going to be so much greater, and I'll be a happier, healthier person. So absolutely, I'm putting in my 9 hours every single night and make sure that I always get it.
Yeah, and you know, the interesting thing about spending time in the world of sleep and doing sleep research is you actually you spend most of your time at night awake watching other people sleep. And so, you know, sort of in the early days, actually, you know, paradoxically, as a result of training to be a sleep doctor, I became very sleep deprived. I got my first bout of chronic insomnia. You know, I've had sort of very poor sleep in the past, and that really enabled me to sort of reflect on, actually, this is so important, you know, because I know what it feels like when you are really, you know, sort of sleep deprived, and how much it just impacts every single aspect of your daytime life, whether that be your work performance or, you know, your ability to connect with your, you know, the relationships in your life. So yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say we're pretty sort of good on it.
I also think we're both quite active as well. We both climb, we both run, and there's no stronger signal that you haven't slept well than having a kind of a poor performance. You can really notice when you know, the impact that poor sleep has on you, or just getting an extra, you know, half an hour less or an hour less. I can see it straight away and feel it straight away when I start to train or do a competition. So
And with my diet especially, if there is a sort of an element of tiredness in the system, then those sort of the vulnerability of those those cookies coming out, it's sort of, I'm quite weak. So a good night's sleep helps me to be sort of good with my diet as well.
I love the holistic view of also capturing things like diet and exercise and stuff as well that can help you fulfill your sleep goals, which is really, really great. I've got like this little personal hack. Honestly, it leads on to a question, but one of the things that I do when it comes to about 9:30, 10 o'clock is I leave my phone in another room that's hard to get, and it's like enough, there's enough friction there for me not want to look at my emails, for instance, or to look on something that's just gonna that's useless, right? YouTube or something like that. So as I said, there is a question to this. How should I be designing my environment to get a better night's sleep?
Hi Wesley, I'm so sorry about that. Technical interruption number 2. I'm sorry for everybody watching. This is really annoying for us as well.
So your hack was you leave your phone in another room, and sort of before going to bed, and that sort of helps, I presume, to create a little bit of a digital detox.
Exactly. So for me, like certainly as a founder, like trying to stop any distractions in my sleep environment has really been helpful for me to get a really good night's sleep. But I guess the main question really is, how should I be designing my environment to get a better night's sleep? I guess that's one example of something that I do, but there are other things that you could suggest too.
And I think, you've touched on something really important there, which is that the role of the bedroom, that, if we think back to our ancestry, effectively the bedroom is our cave. It's that place we go to at the end of the day. And so it is hopefully you want it to be this place where, mentally we're disconnected. You want all of the elements of your bedroom environment to be moving your brain and body towards sleep. And so, having it free from digital tech, that's, an absolute must, especially sort of, a very modern thing. But if we go through some of the basics, light is obviously one of the big ones. Light plays a key role in helping to wake us up, and the absence of light therefore plays a really key role in helping to move us towards sleep. So we know that back. So I was talking about light.
We got that.
You got the light part. Okay, fantastic. So light is really important. So we want to make sure that our room is dark. Also want to make sure that the bed is comfortable. Again, it's complete sense, but it's amazing how many people have an uncomfortable bed. If you're uncomfortable, it increases the chance of you spending more time shifting between light and wakefulness. So making sure that you've got a really comfortable mattress, making sure that you've got comfortable bedding, make sure you've got a comfortable pillow, but also make sure that the room is cool, so that because we need a reduction in our core body temperature to fall asleep. Make sure the bedroom is quiet as well. Sort of, again, if you live in a noisy area, many of us live in cities these days, so just doing simple strategies, heavy curtains, soft furnishings, etc., will absorb a lot of that noise. And then the unsung hero of the bedroom is air quality as well. So, putting in some simple plants, etc., cracking open a window, getting sort of air moving, all of those things are going to help to improve the air quality, which we know helps to improve sleep.
Really, really helpful. And just as you're saying that, we had some comments that come through. We have Molly, as a business owner and a recent mum, it has been so tricky to balance everything and keep that energy level up. I'm reaching for the cookies at the moment, as you say. So that's an interesting one. Molly, she's a mum. So is there any advice that you can give perhaps to Molly?
Absolutely. So, one of the real challenges when it comes with, when motherhood comes along is this, sort of huge, obviously, strain on your ability to sleep. And this is where I often talk about becoming a new parent is almost like an opportunity to reinvent your sleep, to really get back to those basics, to try, because we know that your sleep's going to be disturbed. So you want to be doing all you can to optimize the sleep that you're getting. So managing your caffeine intake, reducing alcohol intake, anything, sort of that you might have been doing which could have been disturbing it, staying up late watching sort of Netflix, etc. So, doing what you can to repay that sleep debt as much as possible. So that might be sleeping when your baby is sleeping, taking power naps, but also making sure that you get the extra support you need as well. And this is sort of twofold. It's really often what can happen is if you're a parent and there are two of you, you might get into a routine where you do the sort of the earlies and they do the lates. What can happen is that you are depriving yourself of a specific stage of sleep, because we get a lot more deep sleep in the first third of the night and more of the psychological repair sleep, the REM sleep, in the latter part of the night. So you want to make sure you swap those shifts around just to ensure that you're getting good, sort of optimum amount of the different types of sleep. Then also make sure you get nights off as well. So if you've got people, sort of who can give you a complete night off every now and then just to really get a good night's sleep, that's going to be helpful.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Very, very helpful tips. And I kind of want to move on a little bit and just gain your perspective on the impact of the pandemic on people's sleep. But I kind of want to maybe learn a little bit about, the types of customers that are coming to you, as a result of the pandemic. Have you seen like a change in the types of customers that are coming to you, Adrian?
Yeah, I think that the interesting thing to look at is firstly the impact that the pandemic's had. And there's been various studies throughout the world, but one which actually happened in the UK here in London by King's College found that 50% of the UK population said that they are sleeping worse. 25% said that their sleep has basically stayed about the same, and about 25% said that their sleep has actually improved. Now, those that have worsened, it's obviously come from, as we found ourselves from working with both individuals and with organizations as well, things like health worries, an obvious one, financial worries, but also one which kind of came out of the blue was work detachment, because people are working at home, which basically means that people are sat in the same room that they wake up in sometimes and working in that room, and so they're finding it very difficult mentally to switch off from their work stresses. So really what we've found over the kind of the pandemic year and a half or so is that our business increased massively. We had a lot more clients come to us, and actually what we found with nearly everybody that was working from home, obviously, is that one of the key things we really needed to help people with was this work attachment, how to switch off mentally after a day at work. People finding it very, very difficult to actually put a lid or an end on the day, and they'd feel like they hadn't worked hard enough, and so therefore they need to continue into the night. And what we ended up finding is that actually having a very kind of strict, I start my day and I end my day routine is something that everybody can do, and actually it really helps people both mentally to switch off from their work, but also helps them to connect to their home lives. And it's something which has really happened because many people had a commute, for example. And most people's commute are kind of perfectly doable, but that gives a really good mental switch off from your working routine and a start to the day and an end to your day. And that's one of the reasons why people were finding it difficult to switch off. That 25% of people who sleep improved, well, actually, we found that these are people that had those longer commutes, like Guy, who used to have an hour and a half each way. And actually, that really took time out of his home life and time potentially out of your sleep time. So those people were kind of. Can you hear us there, Wes?
We can, yeah. Just a little bit up, but I think we caught most of that.
So there's been some kind of unintended beneficial consequences of the pandemic, but unfortunately, over 50% of people's sleep has worsened.
Was that like a surprise to you, actually, kind of when you looked into those stats? Was it a surprise, or that kind of a trend that you almost half expected?
I think we did expect it. It's always interesting to find out the reasons why, but anything where there's a socio-economic issue which is going on is going to cause stress in people, whether that be Brexit, whether that be changes in politics, or whether that be health crises. These things all play on people's minds, and it creates worry, and anxiety causes people not to sleep well. So we kind of didn't realize it would be as big as it was, and we didn't really understand the factors, and nobody could foresee that they were all going to be working from home, for example. So that was an interesting one, and we were having to update our materials and understand what the causes were and how to help those kind of individuals. So yeah, it's been a learning process for us too, which has been amazing.
And I think one of the other sort of interesting insights from that is we also saw that obviously loneliness levels went up as well, and that had an impact on people's sleep.
100%. I think things like anxiety, mental health, sleep coming more and more into the conversation now, with founders taking this much more seriously. And I certainly have, like myself. Now I start to look into the reason why you're here right now is because of the research that we did around sleep, and we thought actually this is something that needs to be out there for founders, because I don't think this is a subject that really gets talked about enough. That's a lovely segue into what you guys do, because there's the advice side, you've got the technology side of the business as well. So how does the Sleep School help address and solve the problem of sleep for businesses?
Yeah, so I think the first thing to say about that is that everything we do, we like to do it from an evidence base. And really what that involves is us understanding the unique needs of an organization. And every organization really is completely unique. There might be two banks working in the same industry or consultancy firms, but without really understanding things like the corporate culture, the management style, how that company's doing at a time, we can't really understand people's stress levels, but also their ability to sleep well too. So we like to run a kind of an in-depth survey with organizations to understand the different cohorts that exist and the different needs and different issues. And then based on that, we then design programs to help organizations through both a mix of live engagement, which we think is really, really important. We're not a digital only organization. We feel that actually having a kind of a live element to it actually helps people to understand the issues and the problems that exist. It also helps people to connect with each other a lot more and creates kind of a culture around improving sleep. But then after that initial engagement, the majority of what we do is digital support. So whether that be through online platforms, apps, online courses for people to take, it depends on the organization, it depends on their needs. But really, yeah, to summarize it, everything we do is evidence-based, and everything we do is designed to actually help the individuals and core groups that exist within an organization.
Yeah, lovely stuff. I love that bit about evidence-based, because then you're really leveraging the data and insights to provide actionable plans to help people within the organizations that you support with their sleep. And that, I think that's really key, in that it's just not some throwaway research, it's actionable data that you're using. So that's really, really great. Let's talk about business owners who are often leaders. Why would you say that sleep is important to them? Is it simply the element of being alert enough to communicate well? What's your take on that? Hey,
we got your question there. I'm sorry if we didn't.
Yeah, so In short, yeah, sleep is absolutely fundamental for leaders. If we think about the sort of the typical qualities, mental qualities that leaders need, such as being sort of motivational, having charisma. Sleep plays a really important role in boosting the engagement sort of levels that a leader would have for the team members, but also with memory recall, problem solving, and actually there's great research around sleep and risk taking. What we know is that when we're sleep deprived, we're more likely to make riskier decisions. In fact, the areas of the brain which are responsible for sort of taking riskier decisions increases, and the area of the brain which is responsible for sort of self-control sees reduced activity. But one of the most interesting bits of research really around sleep and leadership is not so much the impact on the leaders themselves, it's impact on the teams of those sleep deprived leaders. And actually what they found is that the teams of leaders who devalue sleep actually themselves sleep 25 minutes less sleep on average compared to bosses leaders who value sleep. So you can suddenly see that actually leaders who value sleep, that's crucial not only for their own performance and health, but also for the health and performance of their teams as well.
Brilliant stuff. That's really, really helpful. Let's go back to the audience. We've got Alistair Nunn, by the way, who said he loved the cave comment and totally agrees. Molly came back to us and said, thanks so much. I'll try the shift for now. So you might have a customer there. That's brilliant stuff. We've got one more question for the audience, which I'll leave till the end. But let's go back to the fact that your approach is science-based, but what does that mean for customers?
I suppose the first thing is that it gives customers confidence that actually what we're telling them is proven to work. Everything that we do comes from kind of a lot of study into research which has been proven around either physical elements or psychological techniques that will actually help people. And unfortunately, we do know that there's a lot of myths that exist out there around how to improve your sleep. So just continuing on there, I'm so sorry. There's a lot of myths that exist out there, which or based or kind of practices which are based on very shaky evidence around how to improve sleep, including things like eating lots of turkey or cherry juice or using lavender, etc., etc. And actually, what we want to do is to ensure that people have the confidence and belief that they can trust in what we are telling them is going to improve their sleep, so they can put their efforts in the right place. And so for us, that's the most important part of the evidence-based or science-backed element to what we do, that people can trust in us.
Very helpful. And how quickly can business owners and leaders improve their sleep with these methods in play?
I think one of the great things about sleep is that it's a trainable skill, and so people can put into action some of the basics and see improvements in their sleep absolutely immediately. So if someone's watching this today and they pick something up and they put it into their sleep tonight, they can hopefully wake feeling a little bit more refreshed the next day. But once you've got the basics aside, a lot of the people who might be coming to us on a clinical or a corporate side might have more, sort of in-depth psychological issues where, they've got high levels of stress or anxiety, or something else. And that's where it's going to take a little bit of time. And actually, when we work with organizations, corporate organizations, a standard program might take 4 weeks, for example, and we'll do a pre-survey and then we'll do a post-survey, say 4 weeks after we've finished, so really to be able to measure the effectiveness of the program. And what we generally see with that is we see an improvement in sleep satisfaction of the employees by 82%. We see morning refreshment increase 7%. And we see mental health levels improve by sort of just over 60%. So the answer is really you can get sort of very quick improvements, but if you work at it and really cultivate positive behavior change over time, then you can see huge improvements.
Very helpful. And we'll finish off with one from the audience now. We have Steve, and he says, I find it difficult to sleep without reading, except when I'm absolutely knackered. I therefore always have my Kindle by my side table. Is this an issue, and how can I remedy it?
I think this is something that we see a lot on our clinical side. Certainly, if we take our standard sort of chronic insomnia sufferer, often what they'll have is sleep aids which they're reliant on. Things and we often have this question where we say, finish this sentence. I can't sleep unless I do or take X, Y, or Z. So I can't sleep unless I've read my Kindle. And what we're wanting to do is teach people to be able to sleep naturally without a reliance on those props. And so my advice would be to gradually sort of wean himself off, because the worst case scenario is, he goes away and suddenly he doesn't have that available, and that leads to sleep anxiety. Obviously, it's not the worst prop in the world. There are much, there are much worse, but he might just want to gradually, he could increase, try a night without it, and do that, sort of increase that over a few weeks, or it might be he just reduces down the time that he's reading. So the ultimate aim is to sort of gradually titrate his reliance off on it. But what we have on the Sleep School app is lots of tools for him to be able to use to be able to manage perhaps the worries or the anxiety that might be connected to coming off those off the sort of the aid.
Super helpful, guys. Really, really love it. Look, I've always been a big fan of you guys. I think I love what you guys are doing, and particularly in helping founders as well. We'll wrap up there, guys. But how can people get in touch with the Sleep School?
The easiest way is just via our website. So contact us at hello@thesleepschool.org, or just come to our website.
Brilliant stuff. Well, that leaves us to thank everyone in the audience for your participation. Some excellent questions and comments there. And just remember, go onto our website. There's lots of comments. There's a blog by the Sleep School, on this very subject. But I will leave you to your day. Thank you very much, guys. And we'll see you next time.
Cheers. Thank you so much, Wes.
Thanks, Wes.
Bye-bye.
All the best.